Hello, sweet friends, academic writers. I am Dr. Sharon Shahaf. Quickly to introduce myself, I'm a global media scholar, an author. I write nonfiction, personal essays, and I do a lot of academic writing and editing. Media studies people, check out the forthcoming special issue of Critical Studies in Television, edited by yours truly and Chiara Ferrari, the brilliant. We just got the proofs today, so this is very exciting to see if the project comes into fruition. But quickly to jump into today's video topic, I really want to start talking about the kind of shifting advice after having laid out the kind of bad advice that we get as academic writers. What do I recommend that does work? Just a quick thank you to everybody that's been emailing me and chatting with me on Facebook. This is really invigorating and helpful. I've had people to contact me and apologize for networking. Please keep it coming. It's wonderful. And especially I want to note, I think it was Michelle on Facebook that said, thank me for detoxifying the academic writing process, and by so doing basically kind of gave me back a really nice definition of my mission. So wonderful. I absolutely embrace that. So let's detoxify it, and we can't do that without a community. So replacing a toxic environment and culture around writing. I do want to just start with another story that from my days in the state university where I was on the tenure track. And early on, I would notice how every year, the first message that we would get, the sort of pep talk, if you will, at the beginning of the year, would be some sort of message from the higher echelons of the university that basically said, you guys are no good. You ain't shit. You're not doing enough research, you're not producing enough, and always kind of threatening the department, that we would get more, whatever, punishment, teaching load, less research funds because we're not producing enough research. And I remember looking around the room and everybody just accepting this as gospel. And I was like that person in the room, the only person that would say, really though? Because I would look around and, people have published books and they won grants and they published essays and they edited collections and they, got students through their PhD and into the job market and successfully have jobs, and not to mention all the stuff that we would do for our students. So after a while, I started realizing that this is very much by design. And it's kind of designed to foster this environment in which we constantly, keep our head down and we feel like we're not good enough and we try to, rush. And in terms of the advice about writing that we would then get, one of the administrators in my department took that as a way to interpret this as a way to say, hey, you know what you guys need to do? I remember one year this guy said, just you don't have to work on an article for 2 years or 3 years or on a book for 10. Just, publish a lot of smaller pieces. He almost might have said just, churn out fluff, writes quick and insignificant work. And again, I don't think that this is a coincidence. I think that the environment created in the university around writing is rushed. I mean, I'm not the only person to say that. There's this wonderful book about the slow professor, I think, from Toronto Press, University Press. But in terms of what messages we get as writers from that, those are enormously detrimental, because if we are in academia and we're there to do work, we are there to do work that we're passionate about. So we are placing this, and then we, get out of the grad school and we finally get that tenure track job if we're lucky, or we're adjuncting and we're trying to get publications out so that we can get out of that reality. And the environment around us does not reward slow, contemplative, patient incubation of really good work. And we're not, I remember thinking to myself, I didn't choose this lifestyle in order to create, to churn out fluff and insignificant work. I'm not making as much money as I could if I stayed in the, if I went for an industry job. I'm not seeing my kids as much as I want to see them. They're in daycare until very late. And all of that in order to just satisfy, the administration that counts the work instead of reading the work to see why it counts. I mean, it doesn't make sense. All right, so within that environment, and I'm moving into my the approach that I'm trying to espouse. I remember being a tenure track, maybe second or third year professor. I had a newborn and a 2-year-old, and I was in this coffee shop where I would go on my writing days because my partner at the time worked at home, so I had no space at home to work. And I was trying to get my work on, and I ran across this quote from John Irving, the author, best-selling author of The World According to Garp and Hotel New Hampshire. And it said, he was talking about the writing process, and he said, where is it? I have it. I remember it by heart. He said something to the effect of, here you go. If you presume to love something, you better like the process of it more than you like the product. And my response to that, as a harried academic trying to get, my tenure book on and, in the haze of newborn rearing, was I got super angry. It angered me because I wanted to love the process of writing. All my life I wanted to be a writer more than anything else. And I felt reading that quote that I'm being, in fact, robbed of something, that something is being, withheld from me. Because I could not, for the life of me, imagine a way in which I would enjoy my writing process more than I would enjoy having a book out or an article out or getting an award or getting a grant. It was all this kind of, I'll force myself to suffer through this in order so that I could have the product out, so that it would assuage everybody's anxieties and will secure my success. So I think this sentence was kind of, eating its way as like a worm in my head for many years as I was really, continuing to suffer and struggle. And then I found this wonderful book, or it found me, The Right to Write by Julia Cameron. She's more known for her book, The Artist's Way, but The Right to Write is the version of The Artist's Way set of interventions and strategies directed more specifically at writers. Everyone, buy it, read it, start working with it. And in a minute, I'll get to the type of interventions that Julia Cameron offers. But once I start, this book actually starts with her critique of how schooling clubs our inner writer like a baby seal and, dries out and devoid us of the joy that writing can bring us and is designed to bring us. She talks about writing as a continuation of our natural attraction and propensity to communicate to each other and to be playful and to be creative, and that school itself, in fact, is it's teaching us to have sentences marching like disciplined soldiers, and all that comes with that. She starts there as the reason why people struggle so much with writing. She also says, most of us, and I'm reading, I have it over my workspace, most of us are really willing only to write well. And this is why the act of writing strains us so much. We are trying to do two things at the same time, to communicate to people and to impress them. So these are the kind of messages and interventions and approaches that I started gravitating to. Loving process, again, from the place where it really bugged me that this sounded so foreign to me, I started looking for all these books that offer these interventions. So loving process over product, how do we get there? I want to talk about Julia Cameron's famous intervention or strategy that's called morning pages. And now I have about 2 minutes to do this, but you guys should really look up a video on that because there's plenty of videos of Julia herself, and I actually linked some of them to my playlist. Morning pages, what all all that this is basically you take 3 blank pages, and I'll show you this. I buy these from the dollar store. They're completely blank. I get them in crates of 40 these days. And you set an alarm, or you wake up earlier in the morning, or sometimes I do them late at night, actually, to be honest. And all you do is you sit there, and with your choice of pen, you write free stream of consciousness, but you gotta stay with it for 3 full pages. And believe me, this can be hard at first. Now you can just, she talks, in the book, she explains how she gives you different tricks. You can describe your environment, a lot of time I start with describing my dream, because I will really try to just get from bed to the morning pages, and I start with the dreams. I try to get to a space where, she says you can be whiny, you can be petty, put everything that goes through your head onto the page and out of the way. And so many times when I practice them, and when in times of crisis, I practice them religiously. So whenever I struggle with my writing, if I slack off with morning pages, I go back and I do them, I say, now I'm going to do it religiously. By the time I get to that third page, there is always some sort of magic that happens. Either I find myself already writing the first paragraph of what I was going to write. Although, again, remember, morning pages, you're forbidden from having an agenda. You come to the page without an agenda. And that, my friends, is actually the greatest gift, I think, of morning pages. I found in another book, I don't have it here, Gail Scher, I think, it has a book for Zen practitioners and writers. And she talks about, I actually have this here, you can see, excess can include making a special effort to achieve something or anything. So I have this over my writing space, because for me, sometimes if I'm stuck, if I'm blocked, I will not even come to the desk to write if I am avoiding, because there is something that I'm trying to achieve. So if I can get myself to the desk, and I can do morning pages, or I can do, look at this, spiral art, or I can do my crazy doodling. This is some of the process time activities. And I can do what Roseanne Bain and many other people call process time, as opposed to product time. This is incredibly healing. And over time, you befriend your writing space, and you know that you can come to your writing space and it can be enjoyable and it can be fun. And guess what? We want to do the work that comes through us. It's that messages that we get that say you're not good and it's not enough, and just finish it, and a lot of small little pieces, and just this gets a lot of us who are more creative, who are more artistic, who are more sensitive, and definitely everybody that struggles with circumstances in their life, which is everybody's marginalized in some way. It gets us in a bind. So this is the general approach. Again, my book would delve into distilling a whole library of different approaches. But how about, you guys try it. Don't take my word for it. Buy The Right to Write or buy The Artist's Way. This is one that has 3 of her books in it, but you don't have to get it. Just get this one. So good. Or buy The Art of Slow Writing. That's holding up my camera, so sorry. By Luis de Silva, that I wanted to talk about and didn't get to. And practice it yourself. And keep the emails and the comments coming. I love your questions. I love your comments. And happy writing, everybody.